What is up everyone, welcome back to a brand new video. In today's video we are going to be unboxing and reviewing the FABI Gold dual hub motor board. I just want to preface this video by saying that FABI did in no way pay us to make this video, however they did send us this board for free. I would also like to add that FABI is in no way related to the YouTuber FABI, who's responsible for the brand Onzera. They used to work together, but there was some sort of fallout between them, and it's a little bit strange that they're still using FABI's image to promote their business. So just be aware that they are not correlated at all. Anyways, we're not going to really be focusing on that in this video. This video is going to be really focused on the performance of this board. So without further ado, let's get into the unboxing. The FABI board comes inside its very own custom box and the packaging looks very nice. I have to say that I was really impressed for such a small and cheap board to have such good packaging. Everything was very neatly packaged inside. Once you open the box, there's two foam pads to keep everything nice and compact in there. The board arrived in perfect condition, no scratches or anything, so props to them on their packaging. Now inside there are three main things. There's the board itself, which comes just like this. It comes in a really nice condition. There's no battery installed, and that's because there's another box that separately contains the battery because this board does have a swappable battery. The next box that's included is the box that has the remote. It also has some of the other things that you'll need to maintain your skateboard, such as a T-tool. It's got some riser pads in case you want to smoothen up your ride. It's got the charger, and then the second box has the battery, which goes into the skateboard, and it's a swappable battery, which is why it comes detached. So this is a 6S 2P lithium ion pack. It's super compact. It feels super well made, surprisingly, at the price point. It's got this nice hard plastic case on it that will enable it to slide right in to that port on the skateboard. It's super simple to install. Just align the two XT60 connectors, align the two plastic pieces, and then push the battery into place. It'll lock perfectly in and then stay put, and then you can immediately power on the board, power on the remote, and test it out to see if it works. The remote functions like a pretty standard e-skate remote. You push forward on the throttle, it'll go, you push backwards, and it'll brake. So now here's what the actual board looks like, and I have to say that for $249.99, I was super impressed with the quality of this board. Everything looks in pristine condition. It looks extremely well built, and considering the price point on this, I was really not expecting something that felt a little bit more premium. So moving on to the actual specs, it has two 350 watt motors. They're 70 millimeters in diameter, and they are hub motors, which means that the motor's inside of the wheel. You can see them right here. They're this black piece on the rear wheels with that thin strip of urethane covering them. Now traditionally, I've never been super impressed with hub motors just because they deliver less power, and they don't have that thick urethane on them, which allows for a smooth ride. However, I actually thought that the urethane on these wheels was a fairly decent quality. I also just really like the look of the rear truck with those hub motors. The gold accents with those black out finish looks extremely good, and I was really impressed by it, so good job FABI, it looks incredible. The board uses an extremely short 27.6 inch deck. I think that it has a nice amount of concave that it just leaves you right in there. It also has a kicktail. And one of the things that I thought was really strange was that it had FABI's autograph on the bottom of the tail, which is weird because they're not affiliated to FABI boards anymore, kind of another weird thing I was saying. Putting that aspect aside, I think that the deck fits perfectly for the application of this board. Speaking of which, the FABI board is really designed for shorter commutes or just a travel board. The swappable battery and the short deck make it super easy to carry this board anywhere you want to go, and especially that swappable battery, you can take it out, get it through airline as it's less than 99 watt hours, and you can fly with your board anywhere that you want to go as long as you can get that approved, and most of the times you'll be able to make it through. I think that's a super nice feature. The power button also feels super nice. I love that it's one click on, one click off. You don't really need to hold it down for an excessive amount of time. On the battery, there's also a charge port. You can charge it in the board or out of the board. There's also a USB port to charge the remote or your cell phone, and then there's also a battery indicator which you can access by pushing the small black button on the side. All of these aspects combined make for an incredible commuter or travel board. Now to take that swappable battery out, it's really quite simple. There's this notch that kind of protrudes from the edge of the enclosure, and if you push on that with enough force, you'll just be able to force the battery out in the opposite direction. Here's that being done from the top view. It might be a little clearer this way to see how it's done. You push on that notch and then slowly you can pull it out, and you can swap in a new battery while riding, or you can just take it out and fly with the board like this and carry that in your carry-on. Like I was saying, it's a super small battery. It's less than 100 watt hours, which means you can fly with it. It's in a 6S 2P configuration. Once again, to put it back in, just slide it back in that slot, click it into place, and it's locked in there for good. I touched on it a little bit earlier, but I think that the FABI board also looks really good. I think that the entire blackout look with those gold accents is a really cool look, and considering that it uses a lot of the same parts that a lot of other Chinese companies use, they did a really good job of making it look different. I think that has a lot to do with the swappable battery, and also not many other boards use this deck. I couldn't really find any issue with any of the components. The one thing that I could find was that the grip tape did have some air bubbles on the rear bit of the kicktail, but that's not too big of an issue. Coming in at only 10.2 pounds with the 27.6-inch deck, the board's also super portable and easy to walk with. This does come with its trade-offs, as getting on the board coming from a long board, it's a little more difficult to start riding this thing, and we did have to take a little while to adjust to it. So now we're going to get into more of the specs of this board and how we thought it performed in the real world. So as soon as we hopped on the board, I was actually pleasantly surprised with the amount of torque this had. Considering that it had two 350 watt hub motors that were in a 70mm wheel, I was really not expecting it to have that much power. However, it did have a fairly good amount of power for the wheel size. I didn't have any troubles on any small hills, which is perfect because this isn't really designed for going up any big hills. As long as it can get up those basic inclines, that's perfect for this purpose. FABI does advertise that their board can make it up hill grades up to 17.5%. However, we were really only able to get closer to 15%, which is still pretty close. The case with a lot of these cheap Chinese hub motor boards is that they can climb most of these hills, but just not very quickly. In our case, we took it to this hill, which is around 20%, and we slowly turned and carved our way up, and we were able to slowly make some gains on the hill. However, once it gets to some of the steeper sections, it just won't make it at all. But as long as you go slowly and you make nice wide turns and don't actually go up the steep portions, this board can climb some fairly decent hills. Just don't expect it to be a very good hill climber. The website also mentions that the top speed should be around 16.2 miles per hour, which we found to be right on par. We got it right around to 17 miles an hour, which is perfect for this size of board. Going any faster gets really sketchy, and it's not really meant to be a super fast board, it's just meant to be a nice mini cruiser for commuting. The one area on their specs that we found to be a little bit inflated was the range, which they advertised to be around 8.3 miles, which I'm sure you could get in absolutely perfect conditions with a super lightweight rider. But we're around 140 pounds, and we were realistically able to get 5 to 6 miles on really flat terrain. So evidently this isn't really a board meant for getting a ton of range, because it's going to be a commuter board. That small battery means that you can't really fit a ton of range in the board, which is not really the point of it because you're supposed to be able to fly with it, and that already limits how much range your board is going to get. But if you're really looking into the technical specs, 5 to 6 miles is what you can really expect in real world range. Moving into the feeling of this board, I think that a small deck is something that we're definitely not used to, and it was a little bit tricky to get used to riding this board. It's definitely meant for people that are more used to skateboarding, which is I think who it was designed by. It was designed by FABI to be a board that he could travel with. He wanted it to have a kicktail and a very short wheelbase so that you could also carry it around, be super easy to walk around with, to take on planes with you, and all of that, which is something that we've never really designed our boards for or ridden boards like that. And standing on a tiny deck was definitely a little bit tricky and different on an electric skateboard. Overall, I think that it suits the purpose of this board perfectly. Although I might not choose it for a personal board, I definitely think that choosing it for a portable board that you might take to college, that you might want to travel with, it's perfect. Both of us e-skate builders are currently in college, and having talked to some of our other friends, we think that this is the absolute perfect board for anyone looking to get started into electric skateboarding that doesn't have a huge budget, such as college students, that also wants to take their board to campus and they have to fly to get there. You can just swap that battery out, fly your board to campus, and it's perfect because most places are going to be pretty flat, have really low speed limits, and you're not going to need to go that far on a charge. You can carry it into class super easily, and overall it's just going to be a really great all-around option for anyone in college looking for a board. The other group of people that I would really recommend this board to is people looking to travel with a small electric vehicle. If you're traveling, you can just take this thing on a plane, no hassles at all. That small battery comes out, which is one of the huge things TSA has been cracking down on. If you can take that battery out and hold it separately, it's going to be much easier to get it through security. Also, having a swappable battery means that you can take multiple of them with you if you're traveling, so range won't be that much of an issue. Overall, if you're looking to get started into electric skateboarding, for just $249.99, the FABI is going to be a great option. I was really surprised with how good of a product it was. They do have a little bit of concerns with the fact that they're still using FABI to promote their image, so that's a little bit suspicious, but the actual product itself is great. So we'll leave a link down in the description below, and that concludes our review for the FABI dual hub motor gold board. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like it, subscribe, and comment down below what you think. If you aren't already subscribed, please consider subscribing for more videos like this. We've got 3 more pre-built boards coming in reviews later this month, so you don't want to miss those. So subscribe, turn on notifications to make sure that you won't miss a beat on all of our e-skate content. We've also got lots of incredible DIY content heading your way and some great products that we're reviewing coming up. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video.